On the 15th of January 2015, two unassuming American climbers reached the summit of the Dawn Wall. Imagine a cliff face taller than the Burj Al Khalifa. Imagine climbing holds so sharp that they cut into your fingers, reducing your fingertips to bleeding pads of skin. Imagine spending every night sleeping on a swaying canvas ledge suspended from the rock face. Now imagine doing this, eating a diet of bagels, tinned sardines, canned peaches, and almost no water. This is the Dawn Wall. 900 meters of almost vertical, sheer granite, featureless. And when Tommy Caldwell and Kevin Jorgensen reached the summit, 7 years in the planning, 18 days to climb from the bottom to the top, they had reached the top of what is undeniably one of the world's hardest free climbs. Now you're sitting there thinking, well, how does that possibly apply to us here at Haileybury? Well, I believe that climbing unlocks the possibility of developing real courage, mental and physical, in all of us here. And in a school like Haileybury, we perhaps linger too long on developing academic traits and ignore the development of mental and physical courage. And by giving pupils the opportunity to develop that courage, those skills will endure through life and certainly through the classroom. Now, I became a climber when I was at university. I'd always enjoyed the outdoors. I was a Queen Scout. I'd been to Norway. I'd trekked all around that country. But I didn't have some lifelong ambition to climb Strawberries, which is a particularly demanding climb in North Wales, nor to scale the Matterhorn. There was a girl I fancied who lived across the corridor from me, and I knew she was a climber. And I kind of figured that if I somehow developed this skill, I could strike up that all-important first conversation with her, and we'd discover we shared the same hobby. And so it was that I found myself on a minibus driving up to North Wales on a rather damp, cold October Friday afternoon. And the next day dawned bright, and we set off for a place called Idwal Slabs, a quite imposing but not that dangerous bit of rock in North Wales. I was partnered with a guy called Chris, very experienced climber, and he taught me how to belay him, how to tie the knots that I needed to keep me safe, and off he went. And before long, I got the call, climb when ready. And off I went. And initially, I really enjoyed the physical demands of placing my hands and my feet, working out which way to bend my body to get the best balance, and all was going swimmingly well until I looked down. And when I looked down, a whole wave of nausea swept over me, and I started shaking. I felt physically sick. Come on, get up here. Not the greatest words of encouragement. I finally got up to where Paul was standing on the belay ledge, and I must have looked an absolute state. He just could not stop laughing. What's the quickest way down? Oh, you've got to go up. There's 4 more pitches. And then you can walk down. I was horrified. But there was not much more I could do. He made me safe. Off he went again. And then, climb when ready. I was off. And I still had that fear, still trembling, still shaking, but I just kept climbing up. And the more I climbed, the more I had a heightened sense of awareness of what my hands and feet were doing. Yes, I was still scared, but actually, I was starting to enjoy it. Once I got to the top, Chris and I were walking back down. He told me I'd done really well for my first multi-pitch climb. In fact, it was my first climb. And he suggested that we do the one next door. And without much hesitation, I said yes. And we spent a fantastic day climbing. Jump forward 6 years later. Young army officer, up in North Wales again with a friend of mine climbing. And we decided to climb a particularly challenging climb. I'd led, I'd got up to the first ledge, belayed my partner up, and then I started to climb the next pitch, at which point I fell off. And I ended up dangling about 8 meters below him. Now, Paul was a broad Yorkshireman, and I can't actually tell you what he said because they won't be able to broadcast it. But it was words along the lines of, "Stop hanging around and get up here." Managed to get my way back up to where he was, absolutely petrified. And I thought he would take over and lead the rest of the route. "Come on, get back on the rock." I didn't know what to do. And he just literally manhandled me towards the front of the rock face and said, "Come on, up you go." And so it was, with my heart in my mouth, my hands shaking, sweaty palms, very, very anxious, that I started to climb. And once I'd got to the top sometime later, and I was making myself safe, and I started to belay Paul up, I just could not stop grinning. It's like a Cheshire cat. I just cracked Cemetery Gates, one of the biggest, hardest climbs in North Wales. Now, I still have a massive fear of heights. Every time I go climbing, I have to steel myself to actually get onto the rock and get going. So why do I keep doing it? I get a massive thrill, get a huge sense of satisfaction from climbing. I really enjoy the physical challenge of actually progressing up vertical rock face. And above all, that huge adrenaline rush you get from actually reaching the top of a climb. Now back to the girl for a moment. I left you hanging with that one. We did eventually go out with each other for about 6 months, and then she disappeared off to France for her year out as part of her language course, and I'm afraid our relationship fizzled out, and I think it's all down to a rather charming Frenchman that she met. So, climbing. Climbing enables us, under controlled conditions, to place pupils into a degree of danger. It allows them to tackle the physical and mental demands that are placed upon you when you tackle vertical rock faces. But we don't have to go all the way to the dorm wall to experience these challenges for ourselves. We can do that here, in our own climbing wall. And I hope to see you there. Thank you.